Talk to Steven Barrett, lawyer and a writer, of course, of some renown. Steven, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to see you. We seek your counsel this morning, Steven, on a story on the front page of The Times. The Home Secretary apparently has accused the human rights watchdog in Europe of undermining the case for Britain to remain a member of the European Convention on Human Rights. Apparently, they've been critical of our stance on Palestinian protests and trans rights.
Yes, well, I mean, I agree with the Home Secretary. So, that's one for the Labour government.
Yeah.
She's entirely right. They are mouthing off on political issues. Human rights was always really politics and not law.
Yeah.
But if you think back to because law is the process of consistently applying rules. So the laws that I practiced in are established over hundreds of years. They're built on rules applied after rule applied after rule applied after rule applied. When human rights came in, it basically reset the clock. And they get to start from the beginning. So I could have at that point said, hang on a second, I think they're only doing this so that they can do politics. And they would have immediately denied it and said, no, we're definitely not doing politics. And as human rights has gone on for the sort of last 20, 25 years, it's become increasingly, and it's not as old as the convention, and they don't have the case law basis that they often claim. They claim that they're a lot older than they are, which is what new religions tend to do, Mike, just by the way. But now it's becoming increasingly obvious not only that they're doing politics and pretending it's law, but they're actually doing really unpopular politics because they've delved in, and that's why Shabana Mahmood is right. They've delved headfirst into a man can be a woman. Now, we've just torn ourselves apart over a number of years, and in order to finally get to the place where the Supreme Court says, no, a man is a man and a woman is a woman, deal with reality, human beings, and immediately they try and undermine that. That's just, it's not just politics that they're doing bad politics. It's a form of deranged Marxism. And what was the other one? That it's not just the trans rights, but
it's Palestinian protests as well. Presumably,
oh right,
presumably we're somehow invading people's human rights by allowing them to protest.
I can't imagine a less popular cause in Britain today. If you want to do politics, do not support the pro-Palestinian protesters.
Right.
The country is fed up to the back teeth of them. They've terrorised the Jewish community. They've terrorised the rest of us. They've made a horrible mess of the place. And let's be honest, British people, we don't like this. We don't like shouting. We don't like noise. We don't like litter. We don't like low-level criminality. We don't like black masked thugs. We don't like these people. So to politically support them, the ECHR is not only doing politics, but it's doing politics really badly. And it's about time.
Right.
We just got rid of the whole lot of it.
Exactly right.
Them.
But perhaps, on that point, they're perhaps playing, as she says, into our hands, because at the end of the day, it makes it a lot easier to get rid of an organisation or to pay less attention to it if it starts talking absolute and utter cobblers.
Well, good. I mean, good. And maybe Britain will wake up and maybe we'll finally realise that we're better off as a democracy with all of us involved and all of us deciding how our country's run and not run by an office block in Strasbourg full of foreign legal academics who don't even visit the country. I mean, how on earth they're supposed to run us if they don't even visit?
Right.
They're not not qualified to practice law here. I mean, the whole thing is a complete sham. Nobody would design this with a good intention.
No.
It's just a nice sounding, really stupid idea.
And from my current understanding, it's not a binding, legal sort of step, is it? I mean, if you get to the Supreme Court here and you decide that you don't like what the Supreme Court have said, you can't appeal particularly, can you, to the European Court of Human Rights? But they can make a judgment on something which may or may not be taken seriously by the British court system.
It's just a mess, Mike. It's an absolute mess. So not only does it do politics, not only does it do bad politics against the wishes of the majority of this country, it does law really badly, and it just makes a total hash of everything. Do you remember when it blocked the Rwanda deportation overnight? I mean, I always remember that because I was coming on a talk at like 6 a.m. to deal with it. So they literally did it while I was asleep. That's a nonsense power that they never had, and they've just given to themselves. This office block in Strasbourg is out of control and doesn't have the slightest clue what it's doing. It's doing deeply unpopular politics, and that is the time that we really should just wake up, thank it kindly for its service, and tell it to kindly trot on.
Yes. Because I don't think we'd miss it. I don't think anyone would mourn its passing whatsoever. I've got another quick question for you, though, with your legal hat on. There was an odd story this morning that came across our desk where a number of women made a citizen's arrest at a railway station in South London today. They call themselves a Citizens Arrest Network, and they arrested a man by the name of Mark Thurston, who happens to be CEO of Anglian Water. They surrounded him, you can see the picture there, joined hands, linked arms, and basically wouldn't let him leave while they read him a series of accusations, which included 3 counts of public nuisance, focusing on environmental damage and illegal sewage spills. They said he poses a risk to the public's access to clean water. He said the company had failed to maintain equipment which leads to the spills, mismanagement of funds, and his bonus as well. I don't know what the legality is of something like this, but it doesn't seem to be something that should be allowed to be done, does it?
Well, citizens' arrest is one of those important constitutional powers that you keep because you don't want the state to be completely in control of anything. You don't want, so another similar power is something like a private prosecution.
Right.
You don't want the state to be solely in charge of whether or not somebody is prosecuted, because you get issues like the China alleged spy case, where the state can misuse its power, or at least be perceived to misuse its power. So you do want to sort of keep these things. They're doing it in a very civilized way, so they're not attacking him and hurting him, which is good. That you should always use the minimum of force in these circumstances. I hope that they called the police as soon as possible. I hope that they investigated these offences and that they've got evidence, and that the offence meets the threshold. There's a threshold of when you can't just do this willy-nilly all the time. But, you know, if all of those are met, then this is part of our democracy and part of the way that we collaborate in our country. We are not passive participants in our country. We are active members. The state is not mother, the state is not father. It doesn't do everything for us. We do actually run ourselves. So I have some sympathy for this. I know that last week they did this in 5 offices of water companies. They're very upset with water companies because water companies is just another example of where the regulatory model, this patronising Blairite idea that an independent regulator will fix everything and do everything for you. You won't need to participate in your country. That the magic fairies will do all the work. And it's completely failed. Right.
But is there any kind of threshold for what offences you can make a citizen's arrest for? Because I just worry that if people see this, they'll go, oh, I know. And some of these pro-Palestinian lot will be sort of going around making citizen's arrests of people like the Israeli ambassador or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, there are. And there's no basis in law for anybody to arrest the Israeli ambassador. Let's get that absolutely clear. And the threshold is that these have to be serious offences, what's called indictable offences. I'm not aware of what offences they've alleged. So all I can say is that I hope that they meet the relevant test. If they don't meet the relevant test, then law comes around to bite you on the bottom, and they will have committed offences themselves. Right. So that's how we balance this out.
That's the safeguard, exactly. Yeah. One final one for you. The TikToker Fayaz Khan, who was sentenced yesterday to 5 years in prison for threatening to kill Nigel Farage. We learned today that he was also sentenced for 8 months in prison for coming into this country illegally. And we were wondering, well, if they can arrest him for that, why can't they arrest everybody for that?
They can arrest everybody for that. It is a crime.
They just don't.
They just don't, and this is part of law falling apart, really, that they won't do that, and they've just made a mockery of themselves by punishing him, because they're now, it's obvious that this is just arbitrary justice. All of these boat migrants are criminals, and yet we treat them with 4-star hotels, all the stuff you were detailing before about the treatment in alleged detention centres, where they're basically spoiled like children. We are encouraging these boat migrants. Let's admit this. And they are dangerous. He's got an AK-47 tattooed on his face and on his arm. That, to be honest, that should be enough for anybody with common sense. Yeah, you would think. Yeah. But we need to return to common sense, not believing that the authorities know what on earth they're doing, because they largely don't, and taking back control of our country. And that's, people like him just need to be back in Afghanistan. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, absolutely right. Stephen, great to talk to you again. As ever, a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Steven Barrett, lawyer and writer, setting a few things straight there for us all. A bit of breaking